Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily with me, Chris Pergine, and my co-host, Jonathan Chilia. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good myself.
Had a long night last night. We'll talk about that soon. Just before we get started, we've got a competition today from the Corinthia Palace Hotel. We're giving away an amazing package, the Reunite Poolside package for 4 people. That includes free cocktails and platters, a sun lounger, lots of other gifts. All you need to do is tag 3 of your friends, the 3 friends you want to take with you in the comments below. So do that and you could be the winner today. I'll just run through the headlines and we'll start talking about the first story. So Adrian Delia lost a PN vote of confidence yesterday but vowed to stay on anyway. Evidence of collusion on the VOWS deal, as Konrad Mizzi says the whole cabinet signed it off. The Attorney General has defended his decision to send advice to the police not to take action on Panama, labelled a murder memo. 75-year-old Valletta cafe Prego announces its closure, and angry holidaymakers speak out against filthy Gozo farmhouse. So let's start with the first story, John.
I mean, as you said yourself, Chris, if you were following, you probably had a late night last night because a moment that many people have been waiting for, as well as a moment of heartbreak from other people, has finally arrived. The PN had a vote of confidence in their embattled leader, Adrian Delia, and he lost it. 30 people voted and he lost 19-11 in a secret vote. So we're yet to know who voted which way, but it was quite an emotional scene last night. I mean, this happened in the early hours of the morning. If you were following, we followed it live on Lovin Malta, and it was quite tense. I mean, there were a lot of supporters outside Dar Centrali who were getting emotional. They were shouting things like tradituri at MPs as they were leaving Dar Centrali. Now, Adrian Delia himself gave a press conference from Dar Centrali where he said that he respects the outcome and that he would be staying on. Even though he respects the outcome of the vote, he would be staying on as leader. And I think right now we will be cutting to a clip of Adrian Delia speaking from Dar Centrali last night.
Tittieħed vot sigrit fejn ir-riżulta wara mozzjoni illi ġiet ippreżentata mill-Onorevoli Chris Sajdu sekondata mill-Onorevoli Therese Komodini Kakija dwar jekk il-grupp parlamentari għandux fiduċa fil-kap tal-oppożizzjoni kien hemm votazzjoni ta' 19 illi kienu kontra u 11 illi kienu favur. Jiena din id-deċiżjoni nirrispetta iżda it-tesserati tal-Partit Nazzjonalista għamlu għażla ċara għal darbtejn biex imexxu l-partit biex jien immexxi l-partit għal-leġislatura sħiħa. Jien se nirrispetta l-għażla tagħhom u se nkompli l-mandat illi tawni u se nkompli immexxi dan il-partit għal-leġislatura sħiħa. Għada nidħol lura għax-xogħol biktar ħeġġa minn qatt qabel bħala kap tal-Partit Nazzjonalista kif ukoll bħala kap tal-Oppożizzjoni. U nkomplu niġġieled il-korruzzjoni, il-kriminalità li ħakmet lil pajjiżna taħt gvern laburista.
I mean, Adrian Delia has said and done some strange things in the past, but I think this, takes the biscuit. You've got your 2/3 of your parliamentary group saying that they don't want you as leader, and you respond by saying, okay, I'm going to stay on, I'm going to be PN leader from tomorrow, I'm going to be opposition leader, like nothing happened. I think what we expect to happen today is that the president, who is empowered to now register the fact that the opposition, that Adrian Delia is no longer the opposition leader who enjoys the majority of support from the majority of MPs in Parliament. So we need to see what happens over there. Adrian Delia is basically saying we're going to now go to the PN executive to discuss the matter, but I can't really understand what matter to discuss. I mean, one of the crazy things over here is that he's saying he wants to continue this fight of corruption, and yet by being there, by continuing to be the story, by continuing to be the focus of everything, he seems to be the thing that's stopping the discussion on corruption. In fact, we should be discussing what happened yesterday with the VOWS deal, but our top story is Adrian Delia's confidence vote.
No, that's exactly it. I mean, the thing is, we've already seen a few reactions. I mean, we've got leading lawyers and other politicians already reacting to what happened last night. I expect today to be some more reactions. Has the president reacted yet?
Not yet, but it's up to him now to act. He doesn't really require anyone to tell him to react. but there might be, you know, what I'm expecting is that the PN MPs who did vote against Delia to go to the president and insist that some sort of action is taken. So we'll wait and see what happens to Delia today. Meanwhile, let's move on to the second story. Yesterday, the Auditor General released a very important report into the Vitals deal, which confirmed, you know, all of our worst fears that this deal was there was strong evidence of collusion with the bidder that won the deal for the 3 hospitals to be privatized, and the entire process was dubious. The actual setup was seemed to be geared to fail, and you know, this has sparked, I think, another discussion in government about yet another deal that has been proven to be corrupt to some extent, you know. There were a lot of reactions yesterday. I don't know if you want to tell us about how Konrad Mizzi reacted, for example.
Well, obviously, Konrad Mizzi himself has continued to deny any wrongdoing in this, and he even went a step further, saying, listen, not only did I know about this, but the entire cabinet knew about this. They've all signed off, quote, at every stage and every contract. So he's saying, you know, it was a collective decision. Now, this is a very controversial deal that's been going back for a few years, and I think the recent pandemic has really shown us just how important it is to have a proper, strong healthcare system in a country that you can depend on and that's reliable. Now, Health Minister Chris Fearn has, you know, spoken out in reaction to this, saying that, you know, he didn't really sign off on this per se.
He's saying he had no involvement in the deal, and actually he was a parliamentary secretary in the health ministry at the time. So I think it's quite, you know, what's interesting now is to see people like Konrad Mizzi and Chris Fearn kind of brushing it off, everyone brushing it off. And we also had a reaction from the Prime Minister, from the government, which basically said, you know, we've already shouldered political responsibility over this deal because Konrad Mizzi has resigned, and we're not going to do this again. But I think, you know, that's not enough at this point. I'm thinking that there needs to be maybe more investigations into anything that Konrad Mizzi touched, because it seems everything he touched did go to some dodgy place, and also I think, like, it's really important that we see who else should shoulder responsibility. Some people mentioned the finance minister, who should have been much more cautious in terms of this whole deal.
It seems like every story today is a moment of reckoning for someone or other, because moving on to our next story, Attorney General Peter Grech in the spotlight a little bit. He has confirmed that he did send out the so-called murder memo. So what is this murder memo? If you haven't been following closely, obviously years ago when the Panama Papers scandal erupted, there was a lot of eyes on the company Nexia BT. Nexia BT is a financial company in the middle of the Panama Papers scandal, instrumental in setting up companies abroad for Maltese people. So there was an investigation into Nexia BT. They were looking to seize their computers, seize their servers, to investigate them and see if there's any information related to the Panama Papers scandal. And during this investigation, Attorney General Peter Grech told investigators to tread lightly, to not be so intrusive in his investigation. And now the CARUANA Galizia family have spoken out and said, listen, if that order wasn't given, our mother, Daphne Caruana Galizia, might still be alive. Damning words. Peter Grech himself, the Attorney General, has reacted. He said that these allegations or these words are unfounded. He actually spoke a bit strong, and he said that they were unfounded offensive remarks, and he spoke out against the innuendo in the Caruana Galizia family's message. But, you know, I mean, when you start looking at the facts, I'm not surprised that the Caruana Galizia family termed this the murder memo.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to say that the public inquiry that's going on is all about whether Daphne Caruana Galizia's murder could have been avoided. And I think here you've got an example of, you know, if investigators did take the Panama Papers seriously and, you know, investigated the politicians involved, then maybe we wouldn't have got to the stage of Daphne being murdered. We also, I think it's important to know that this is not the first time the Attorney General has come under fire. He also came under fire when he lost a court case a constitutional case when he tried to prevent the publication of e-grant, which was another investigation into the Panama Papers. Protesters have been calling for the AG to resign since day one. And I think now, there's yet again another reason to question. I think at the end of the day, John, a role like this is so important that we shouldn't have any suspicions over the person, and instead we've got a long list of inadequacies and suspicions that really need to be addressed.
See, Malta's Attorney General and its specific role is a bit of a problematic one. So obviously he's charged, or he or she would be charged with taking control of investigations and charging people with criminal complaints. At the same time, though, he also has a role of advising the government in cases that might involve the government. So it's a bit of a conflict of interest, and if I'm not mistaken...
And that's been changed. So now there's the state prosecutor who's more in charge of the prosecution. But yes, up until a few months ago, that was the case, and it was a big conflicting role. But also, it's a role that has not always been done so dubiously before, So
another thing is Peter Grech himself. He's been in the role for quite a while now.
Yeah,
has he not?
So. Yeah. He was there under the nationalist administration as well, and was kept on by Labour. We'll move on to the next story. Anyone who visited Valletta in the past 75 years will have probably seen this famous cafe, Prego. Which is a really nice, traditional, sort of nostalgic feel sort of place, which lawyers and architects and people from all over go there for their espresso, their tè frittata, their pastis, and it's just a really iconic cafe. And sadly, it is now being closed. So the Bezzina family, who were always there and always had so much love for the place and its beautiful architecture and design. I mean, not some fantastic food out of this world stuff, but it had that atmosphere and that, I guess, tradition that this was one of the main cafes in Valletta.
Exactly,
and now it's closing down.
It's really sad. I mean, this is an iconic place, opened in 1946. So right after World War II. So it's been around, it's seen a lot of social changes, but what's a bit heartbreaking in this is that this is not the only eatery, restaurant, cafe that's announced its closure in the last few weeks. Obviously, we're just coming out of a hard-hit pandemic, especially economically. It's done quite a bit of damage to Maltese businesses, especially those in the hospitality and catering business. Last week we reported that another Valletta restaurant, Tuk Tuk, had closed down. Week before that, there was a Chinese restaurant in Mosta, Hoi Fan, another popular place, closed down. Prego had not exactly said why it's closing down. We don't know that it's exactly related to the pandemic. However, it's really sad to see all of these beautiful, sometimes iconic restaurants or cafes shutting down. Hopefully we don't see much more of this, because it's going to be really, really heartbreaking to see these iconic places closing down for good. Moving on to the final story of the day, relating to the hospitality industry as well. A family have taken to social media to speak out after a nightmare stay in a Gozo farmhouse. So I've actually seen photos of this farmhouse. It looks beautiful, looks pretty. However, apparently the photos online did not adequately represent the reality. This family have spoken out, saying that they were left with skin infections after allegedly swimming in the pool. Apparently the pool water was very dirty, the pumps weren't working, but that's not it. They had to fight a cockroach invasion. Up to 20 cockroaches appeared out of nowhere suddenly while they're trying to have a grand old time in Gozo. Not only that, microwaves rusty, etc., etc. They reached out to the owner, who offered them a refund, but they said, listen, the refund isn't really going to cut it. This was quite a unfun experience, and the fact that they've actually been left with medical conditions is a bit of extra kick to the face. Chris, I don't know if you're planning to go up to Gozo this summer. I know I've got plans to go up sometime soon. I hope I'm not left with a skin infection.
I must say it is a bit relatable though, the whole cockroach thing. Like, no matter what I do, I always seem to find a dead cockroach.
These were alive. These were alive.
Okay, that's pretty freaky there. But yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind that our tourism sector is under pressure now. It's going to be a more cutthroat market, so these sort of things are just not tolerable vulnerable anymore, you know, and people really need to up their game if we're going to, you know, start to revive our tourism industry. That's it, I think, for today. I just want to remind you about our competition from Corinthia Palace Hotel. You could win an amazing package for four, the Reunite poolside package. Hang out with a few of your friends, have some cocktails, platters, sun lounges. All you need to do is tag 3 friends in the comments below, and you could be today's winner. That's it from us, Jonathan and myself. Have a day full of loving.